Welcome back to Heartland Park, and this is the way it was just a few moments ago. When both Shelley Anderson and Kenny Bernstein lost traction, Bernstein won it.
Kenny, you're going to have to tell me what happened, because I couldn't see through all the tire smoke.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. Tire smoke. Shook, knocked them loose, and I guess Shelley was in the same boat. I pedaled it a couple of times. It finally blew the belt off, and I went, now after all that, the belt comes off. She's probably going to go past me before I get to the finish line.
You were aware of where she was on the racetrack most of the time?
I just knew she was in trouble, because when I'm in trouble and she hasn't passed me yet, obviously I was just hanging on, hoping it would coast on through there. Lucky break. We needed one. It's been a long year.
This is what can happen when you have to pedal one of these things. He's right. The belt is off.
And the crew hoping there's no internal damage to match the missing blower belt. Next pair of cars, Connie Coletta, the patriarch of the Coletta Racing clan. He is up against the surprising Stevie Foster out of Atkins, Texas.
Surprising? That is an understatement, Mac. Stevie Foster came into Topeka having qualified for only 2 national events in his life and had never won a round. And Tim Richards, crew chief for Connie Coletta, says, well, if all that's true, how come he's got lane choice? And Richards a little crabby anyway. He didn't like the way Connie executed the burnout. And he's not happy without lane choice because he saw what Kenny Bernstein did.
And while the racetrack may appear to be equal, there at least is something going on in the drivers' minds or the crew chiefs that would want them to select a given lane. And the lane of choice has been the far side of the racetrack. Foster qualified 15th with a 4.98. His first round opponent was the reigning Winston champion, Eddie Hill, who had qualified second with the Pennzoil car at a 4.82. He had put Stevie Foster here in the lane nearest our cameras.
Eddie Hill was dead late. He was distracted by a vibration on the burnout. Maybe he shouldn't have run the car. He wasted a 4.83 to Foster's slower 4.89. It's a wonder it wasn't in a ball of fire. They discovered a broken crankshaft in the pits.
And Connie Coletta had qualified 7th at a 4.86. He beat Pat Austin in round number 1, but he had problems on that run. Ran only a 5.15. The 4.89 turned by Stevie Foster to defeat Eddie Hill's much quicker 4.83, gave him the choice of lanes.
Stevie Foster is away first. Look at this. Another huge upset. He daylights Connie Coletta with a 4.87, the ride of his life, at 295 miles an hour.
I think maybe Connie and Tim Richards may have underestimated Stevie Foster. The 4.87 and 2.95, the quickest and fastest run of his career. Watch this. There's 0.04 of a second in the bank. An advantage at the starting line, going to the white car in the far lane. And Connie Coletta, who runs a 4.90 second lap time, never could catch him. So Stevie Foster, who had never won a round of racing in NHRA competition, is now into the semifinals of this Western Auto Nationals. To the far end, and Steve.
How long have you waited to hear these words? Stevie Foster goes to the semifinals.
20 years. I'm serious. I ran, the last time I heard any kind of numbers like that was 1976 in an Econo rail. What a big difference, right?
You just ran a 4.87.
Is that right? Yeah. Boy, the guys are doing a fine job. Thanks to NHRA, thanks to these guys. I'm going to help Eddie out this weekend. We're going to take Pennzoil somewhere if we can. I hope and pray. What a blast.
Foster, Miller, and Dyer, like the old days when 3 guys get together to run a car.
Thank you.
Boy, are they having some fun. Our next pair of cars could have a definite bearing on our Winston points chase. This is Don Prudhomme in the top 5 in the Winston chase at the moment. The Skoal Bandit is even on top of our qualifying list here with a number 1 spot. His opponent, Scott Coletta, the other half of the Coletta Flying Services team. Earlier, we saw him beat Joe Amato. He qualified 9th. Prudhomme's qualifying time, 4.82. He beat Clayton Harris in the first round.
Let's watch the staging process. Prudhomme prefers the stage last. So does Scott Coletta. Coletta has made it known that Prudhomme will not dictate how he runs his race car. Let's watch. Into the pre-stage. Prudhomme stages first, and then red lights. A foul start. The snake is disqualified, and he'll be sick about this. He wastes a 4.86 at 2.73 to Scott Coletta's engine expiring 4.92 at 2.79. The snake struck too quick.
Let's watch again. As they came into the staging beams, the tree flashed green, and the red light came on for Don Prudhomme. The drivers will tell you, if you don't get a red light every now and then, you're not trying very hard. Well, he tried just a hair too hard. Our next two cars pit two of the new breed of Top Fuel racers. These are the guys in their late 20s and early 30s that are taking over where Don Prudhomme and Connie Coletta are leaving off. You were just riding on the Burnout with Tommy Johnson Jr., who wheels the Mopar Express Lube car. Down at the far end of the track, here's the Snake.
Sometimes you got to just go after it, and you did.
Yeah, I did, Steve. You know, I thought I saw a change. I was really pumped up, really ready, and I was just too quick. You know, he's awfully good, and, you know, the cars are running even. Somebody had to leave first.
Points-wise, that's a pain in the neck.
Yeah, it sure is, but heck, you know, still got a long year yet. And I'll try to do my job a little better next time.
The new philosophical Snake.
And, of course, Prudhomme in his final strike tour out of competition, and that is good news for Scott Coletta, because with the Snake out, Scott's dad Connie out, and Joe Amato out of competition, there's nobody left that's close to Scott in the Winston points chase.
Wendy Johnson backing her brother up. She hopes to one day drive a Top Fuel drag herself. Right now she's 19 and in the sportsman ranks. Tommy Johnson Jr., you take a poll of the other drivers, may be the best Top Fuel pilot on the track today. Incredible reaction times. Corey McClanathan will be trying to match those reaction times. He's had a little bit of a problem in that area this year. He won the Phoenix race. Tommy Johnson Jr. in round number 1, we should tell you, uncorked low elapsed time of the entire event at 4.77 seconds, quicker even than Shelly Anderson.
And set a new national speed mark at 306.64 miles an hour in the process. Every one of our 16 drivers are so good on the starting line, it just continues to add pressure to the drivers to excel.
TJ Jr., an incredible reaction time. Tire smoke for Corey Mack. This one was a slam dunk, but oh, he slowed way down, Mack. 493, only 293. Not a record pace there.
Steve, the reason may be he popped the supercharger right at the finish line. Lots of work ahead for that crew. Well, Stevie Foster's dream continues. Now he faces Tommy Johnson Jr. in the semis. Scott Coletta and Kenny Bernstein will duel it out in the final 4. That'll be coming up in just a few moments. That's the John Force team headed to the staging lanes. John giving us a little spritz of water on it, trying to stay cool as he will be racing Dean Scusa in round number 2 of funny cars. Steve?
Well, Tommy, this baby had about an 1,100-foot fuse on it. You were lucky to get there with the 493.
Yeah, it was. You know, Steve, I felt it nosing over. Towards the end, I thought, should I shut it off or run it through the lights? But eliminations send it, you know.
Expensive.
Yeah, it is. 306 and then blowing the blower. That's our favorite blower, too.
It's gone.
Settle's favorite blower.
Steve with an 1,100-foot fuse. He falls about 220 feet short. 1320, the distance of this racetrack. Funny cars coming up next on American Sports Cavalcade.
We're back at Heartland Park, Topeka, one of the largest motorsports facilities in the world as far as its total size. And before we have a little more action, how about a quick word about NHRA Now, presented by Castro GTX. It's a 24-hour drag racing information line with the latest info on your favorite drivers and events. You just call 1-900-468-NHRA. Under 18, ask your parents. Charges will appear in your phone bill. The man you'll hear when you call that, man you can hear right now, Dave McClellan.
On board in the Western Auto Slick 50 Dodge Daytona of Al Hoffman, and he's getting smoked in. Same process underway for the Loctite Fast Touring Dodge Daytona, driven by Whit Bazemore. Bazemore has had a rather successful season thus far with very minimal parts breakage. He qualified 12th here at a 537. His opponent in round number 1 was Chuck Etchells, who has nothing but fond memories of this racetrack because it was last October he recorded the first ever 4-second elapsed time by a funny car. But today he won't have fond thoughts about this. A red light at the starting line, wasting a great 528. Bazemore with a 577 got the win, and Whit now faces this man, Al Hoffman from Umatilla, Florida, the number 4 qualifier at a 5.20, beat Gordy Bonin in round number 1, stopping Gordy Bonin's win streak at 2.
In fact, he beat him with a very tiny little hole shot. Whit Bazemore, his new crew chief, Rob Flynn, has really turned this operation around. Quite honestly, they called him Blazemore a lot. He had so many fires, but this guy is running a very clean operation, one of the youthful crew chiefs in funny car racing. Hoffman, he wants to hang on to that points lead over John Force. He's got it right now by the narrowest of margins. You're on board the Western Auto Slick 50 Special with Al Hoffman. That's clutch dust you see in the cockpit. Not to be concerned about. Bazemore just about tips it over trying to recover from smoking tires. So it is Al Hoffman at 5:25. That's steady, 289.
And that steady performance is keeping Al Hoffman in the Winston points lead. Up next, the McDonald's Oldsmobile, driven by Cruz Pedregon, another of those contenders for the Winston Championship. If he were to win it this season, it would mark 2 of the series championships. He won it back in 1992. He more than won it. He took it away from John Force. Here he gets a giant break. His opponent was to have been Richard Hartman at the wheel of the Johnny West Dodge, but he's not here. More on that in a moment.
Al, obviously, you couldn't pick a better race to do well at.
No, I don't know what we ran, but it was good enough to turn a win light on first round, second round. So Western Auto and Slick 50, we're happy to be here in the semifinals for them.
I'm very conservative on the leave.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I got distracted a little bit. Whitley is real good. I did my job in the first round, had a 470 light and earned it. So whatever it takes, we'll be there for next round.
In the final four, the 5:25.
There was about 7/100ths of a second difference between Bazemore and Hoffman. Hoffman just was able to outperform the tire-smoking Bazemore. For Cruz Pedregon, most racers will tell you they need a little bit of luck. This is his dose of luck this day, as Pedregon had qualified second at a 5:05, beat Jim Blake in the first round. Richard Hartman qualified 10th, beat Gary Bolger in the first round, but he's not here. Bob Fry will tell us why.
Well, there's not a lot of urgency in the Johnny West, Richard Hartman Motorola pit area. Johnny, you guys won that first round, had a chance to go up against Cruiser in round number 2, but you were a no-show. Tell us why.
Well, when we for about the past 5-6 races now, we've been having a heck of a time trying to keep the back main bearing in the motor without trying to make it go black. We got the whole motor back together, and then we discovered that the back main was black, so we just didn't have enough time to change engines.
Matter of time more than a matter of parts?
Right.
And a blackened main bearing, of course, indicating that you've got some serious problems in the oiling system. Steve?
Had Richard Hartman come to the starting line, Cruz would not be in that lane because Hartman had lane choice. Cruiser wants it in the final four, and wowzers, he may get it on a single of 5:19 at a shutoff 266. That's impressive. They really stepped it up. Stay with us. We're going to step it up too here in Topeka.